What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 304.4. Elijah Poe's and Michelle Garmon's reaction to another Alex Palou victory and a stunning one. Just another great IndyCar race.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, race fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for our reaction to the IndyCar race at Road America. And man, what a race it was. I am joined by our IndyCar guy, Elijah Poe, and Tipton Tribune and Elwood call leader, and my sidekick, Michelle Garmon, to talk about, Elijah, what was just an amazing race.
It absolutely was. IndyCar at Road America, it always delivers. And you know who else always delivers? That is Alex Palou. Getting it done again at Road America. He was on a different strategy alongside Dixon, and he was able to fuel save the last 15 laps and pulled off the win again. His sixth win of the season. He's just inevitable, and that number 10 crew is just perfect. They just don't make mistakes, and that's why he's in victory lane once again.
Yeah, Elijah, I thought that, when they were talking about thinking he wasn't going to be able to make it, because he was only 2 laps behind Dixon in the pits and in the strategy. And I thought, I think this guy can go. I think one of the reasons he didn't push it the time before and he wanted to come in when he did into the pits was tires, too. But I think that team knew in the back of their mind that if they did things the right way, they could come out. And when you think about it, what they said, like with on the last 2 laps, that he still had like 117 seconds of his push to pass. I think they were in. I think they were kind of in fuel strategy mode a lot of the race, especially when you had all those early cautions and things kind of happened. And I think he's a great driver. And I think he is backed by a great race team.
He absolutely is, and I would love to see some stats. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept Dixon out there a little bit longer, just to even give Palou that draft, just to ensure that he would cross the finish line at the checkered flag. And he's just so consistent. They don't make mistakes, like I said, and it's not shocking to see him back in victory lane, just because he is the premier driver in this sport right now.
Of course, you're too young to remember, but Greg and I probably remember the last two drivers to do it, to win the first 9 races, Johnny Rutherford and Bobby Unser. So I
definitely do remember them.
Unfortunately, I do not. But I've seen the clips, and just for him to be even in that conversation with Johnny Rutherford, it's insane. He's only in his, I think, 6th or 7th season, and he's already in the names with some of the IndyCar greats.
Guys, I thought when we were coming down to the end, it was going to be Dixon, who is the all-time master at fuel saves. And I don't know how Palou outdid him. I mean, is Palou just the new IndyCar genius? Is that what's happening, Elijah?
It's hard to say that he's not. I mean, you see the results this year and in his past 4 years. He really is almost a kind of a second coming of Dixon. They're on that Chip Ganassi team. They're obviously sharing information and working together. And they both drive pretty similarly. They're really cautious, but when they have the opportunity to get it done, they get it done. And it's exactly what he did.
Elijah, I'm not having any luck trying to find the final results. I know the top 2 for sure. I know
Ferucci's third.
Ferucci was third. All right. Kyle Kirkwood finished 4th. Marcus Armstrong 5th. Kiffin Simpson 6th. David Malukas, what a run, finished 7th. Nolan Siegel was 8th. Scott Dixon eventually finished 9th after having to pit. And the pole sitter, Louis Foster, was 11th. Scott McLaughlin looked incredible all day, ended up finishing 12th, or looked incredible at the beginning of the race, and ended up finishing 12th, and really bad days again for the other Penske's, Power and Newgarden. Guys, Penske, rough.
It's just a bad season, especially for Joseph Newgarden. Off of turn 14 there, just got a little bit off the track and spun those tires on that paint, and his backside hit the back, and he was out of the race. And it's just unfortunate to see for Newgarden, because he was running well, and it looks like he was going to be paired up with Dixon on that strategy. If he would have pit differently than Dixon on that last sequence. It's impossible to say because he obviously crashed out, but it was looking like he was going to have another good result, just like he did in St. Louis a week ago, but he finds the wall again. And obviously, this AJ Foyt team, they have a technical alliance with Penske, and today they finished in third and seventh. AJ Foyt Racing is just absolutely insane in 2025, and Santino getting another podium this year. It's great to see for AJ Foyt team.
Crazy good season for the
It
Foyt
is,
team, Michelle. They deserve a
it is.
win.
Yes, they do. They do deserve a win. I've got to believe that they're going to get one at some point, and maybe in the next month. But it's great to see the Foyt team be there and be back in and being talked about and having the season they are. And I guess that's some consolation for Roger Penske, who can say, well, I have a little bit of a hand in making this team relevant again, and the Foyt team relevant
Sure,
again.
absolutely.
But
And that's something I think that's important to everyone, is that Foyt be
yes,
relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. When you've got a name like AJ Foyt still being talked about in the IndyCar paddock, it's a good thing. Not only does it bring in that historical element to the series, but he is a legacy in this sport, and you want to see legacies continue. And no better drivers than Santino Ferucci and David Malukas, who are arguably some of the top two talents in the sport right now, that are just really getting their grounding in the series.
well, Malukas didn't really have a bad day either, although he had some bad luck at different times in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Crashed on the first lap
Had a
and
hole in his car.
was able to salvage a seventh place. Yeah, hole in the front, and able to finish a seventh place. And honestly, I have in my notes with Ferrucci his second podium of the year. I know Malukas has been talked about as possibly being a replacement for Will Power, but honestly, I would love to see Santino Ferrucci get that Penske seat as well. He's just as ferocious
Yeah,
on the track and
I
has been
think that's
proving
the
himself
problem
this
for
year.
Penske, is that he's too ferocious.
Well, he is not very. He probably doesn't fit that quote
No,
unquote
he does
Penske
not.
perfect
He fits
model.
more the
Uh,
Andretti type
Hey,
mold
hey,
of
but
go-getters who charge from the back.
did you see him at the end of the race? He got the podium
Yeah,
finish, and then I
yeah,
think
that
they
was
were coming
great,
around to
Michelle.
pull that what?
Let me
Yeah,
say
the
real fast.
water that crashed
It
in
was
the
like
beer.
yeah, it was like six cars ran out of gas right in the same spot. It was a crazy fuel race,
Yes.
and the fans started throwing waters to the drivers, and Ferrucci said, "No, throw me a beer." And so
Well, no, his
he
water
got
got.
the.
They did throw him a beer or water, but it busted and
I
both
know,
of it
but
spilt. So then he wanted a beer.
that's
Yeah.
right, and that was a great moment. And
So
I think that's the kind of thing that makes drivers endeared um, to the fans and this group of drivers. Elijah, I know we've talked about this a lot. They've really found the right formula, not just on track, but they really have found the right formula for competitive racing, if nothing else. And they have really found the right formula with drivers, a lot of good competitive American drivers, good interesting foreign drivers, and it's just been just the perfect. Hopefully, it catches on around the country because it deserves more attention than it gets.
Absolutely, and there's such a wide range of drivers as well. You have a very serious European in Alex Palou. You have a very goofy American in Santino Ferrucci, and the talent gap is not far from top to bottom. And obviously, the cars and teams
Nope.
are different, but there's so many great personalities in this sport, and it's hard not to really like the drivers that you're seeing race because they do have these personalities. It's not like a Formula One where they're all serious business 24/7. It does feel like an Indy car. You're able to actually see the person behind the car, not just a racing driver.
you know, it is. It's just. It is. There. It's a fun group, and like you guys said, diversified and everything. Now I'm hoping that the win today is a nice omen for the Pacers tonight, because Alex Palou, he is a huge Pacers fan. I mean,
That's
I know
right.
he went when he won the race, but he also attended another home Pacers game. Came back, so he's in the playoffs. He's a big Pacers fan. This is the date they drafted Reggie Miller all those years ago. So maybe we got some good vibes for the Pacers tonight as well.
Michelle, I don't want to say out loud what I think is going to happen tonight because that's how positively I'm feeling about things. But let's get back to
I think
racing
you were
because
feeling
we
real
had three.
positive because you took those watch party tickets.
Yes, I did. I'm going to be excited even if they lose. But let's get back to IndyCar racing because we had 3 Pacers podcasts today. What else stood out to you today?
I just wanted to throw that Omen thing in there.
Oh, of course, love it. What else stood out to you today, Elijah?
Definitely my favorite battle on the track was between Kyle Kirkwood and Will
Mm,
Power there in the opening stages. They're really, really fighting, and I also thought it showed some great, some poise and patience from Kyle Kirkwood. You know, there's a few of those situations where he could have pushed just as
he
hard
is
as Will
poised,
Power
isn't he?
was, but he was
He
reserving
is
himself.
poised.
He is, and for him to salvage a fourth place, I know obviously he's trying to chase Pelot, who's in first, but to still come out with the fourth and kind of be
What a
running in the
year!
mix of an odd strategy all day. Yeah, he's having a great year, and honestly, a great result for the Andretti. His next closest teammate is Colton Herta down in
Ooh,
16th. That's
ugly.
quite the gap from
And
4th to
his season's
16th.
gone from bad to worse as well.
Yes, it is. I talked about the super license yesterday. Colton Herta needs to finish fourth place or better in the championship to be able to get his Formula One super license. He's been in talks to pick up that seat for Cadillac, but 16th today, and he wasn't really in the mix a whole lot. I know we had a couple incidents, banging tires down in some low braking zones, but just a really unfortunate run for the Andretti cars. It just seems like anybody who's not named Kyle Kirkwood in an Andretti car can't really seem to get it going on the track.
But
And
at
again,
least for Andretti, they do have Kirkwood, and he is doing well because there's another racing name, that family name that you like to see, people like to see making headlines.
Absolutely. And he's got Brian Herter on the stand as well, for his strategist, and he's in almost every race. Brian Herter is such a great strategist. Was on Colton for a little bit before he switched to Kyle, but obviously doing dividends for that number 27 crew.
yeah, just again, in your assessment, Elijah, how did he make that? How did Pelot make that work? I just didn't see it coming.
I feel like that's the story of almost half of Pelot's 6 wins. Yes, six
Crazy.
wins this season. He's just able to stay so consistent, and he's not. He's able to fuel save at the end there. Nobody thought he could go, but he could. He had a couple. He was in that battle with Kirkwood and Power as well, and it was able to get around both of them. So he takes every advantage that he can get, and he used it to his benefit, and that's why he just keeps on ending up in victory lane. Poised with another good strategy as well. If he has an opportunity, he takes it. Unlike Newgarden today, like you can kind of compare it to that. Newgarden had an opportunity, and he made a mistake. Pelot just doesn't make those mistakes. If he has an opportunity, he's gonna pull it through.
Red, yellow cup. I lift you up. By the way, that was a beautiful looking car, wasn't it?
Oh, it was.
I love when
Was.
the
Absolutely,
winning car is a nice looking car.
and on a beautiful track
Ah,
as well.
the
I
best.
know we talked about Road America a little bit at the beginning, but there was 238 on track passes, 11 lead changes, 9 race leaders in 55 laps. That is just
Did you
incredible.
just read me the stats for Formula One from the last decade? Is that what you're? Because that's
Well, that it wouldn't be
no,
too
I
far
know.
off. Wouldn't be too far off.
When's the last time you saw a pass for
You
the
almost
lead in
wish it.
It's
Formula
just
One?
You almost wish they'd race another 10
a
laps, don't
while.
you?
Yes, that's another
Oh
thing.
man, it would have been great. I think Rosenqvist honestly would have gotten it done.
Oh yes,
I know he was pushing there at the end.
oh
You
yes,
don't think
he would
so?
have another lap
Oh
maybe.
yeah, yeah. He was pushing there at the end. And it's funny enough, his only IndyCar win is actually at Road America, and almost got it done today. I think if there's another even 2 laps, he would have passed Pelot.
Yeah. Give me just a second. And we talked about coming into this race, Alexander Rossi needing a good result. Wasn't a great result, but it was good to see him racy at the front, right?
Yes, it was. I know he dropped back to 13th after having a pit with just a couple laps to go, but he was really in the fight all day long, constantly battling cars on track, and just really great driving from him. I know it's obviously not the result they're going to want, but he did start down in 24th. Making up 11 places at the end of the day is never a bad thing. I know you obviously don't want to be outside that top 10 result, but just being in the even being in the conversation at the end could be a potential kickstart for what the ECR team needs going forward.
I thought you saw some good racing today from a lot of different drivers that maybe we haven't heard their names as much at the, be in the mix for at different periods this time. To go back to Penske just a little bit, how much do you think that Will Power's bad luck and the things he's doing is because he's not under contract next year and he may be pressing just a little bit too hard?
I would say he was. I mean, he made an error today, just an error by himself today because he was trying to push. Finishes in 14th after starting 8th. It really felt like that car had a lot more pace as well. Obviously, his teammate McLaughlin only finished in 12th, 2 spots ahead of him. But Will Power, it just seems like that contract is looming over his head. And of course, as we get closer and closer to the end of the season, we're not really that close right now. But obviously, it's in everybody's minds that I feel like Will Power has to pick up a win if he wants a seat in Penske next year.
Speaking of which, 2 weeks off before the next race at Mid Ohio, another really good permanent road course. Not quite as good as Elkhart Lake, but a really nice one. And then you go the back-to-back races at Iowa and then Toronto, and there are really no breaks until the end of July. We're going to cut this one a little bit short today, Elijah, because we are headed to a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I still can't believe I'm saying that. But your final thoughts on what this means for the rest of the season, and obviously, as we kind of said before this game, it would be an upset if Palou didn't win the championship before today, but now.
Yeah. I know we talked previous leading up to this race. We talked about that little dip off that Palou's had since he won the 500, and I think today he just cements himself back at the top of the podium as he is still that guy in the series. And if you want to beat Alex Palou, you do have to run a perfect
And let's
race.
not forget that. Let's not forget,
he,
Elijah, that at one point in this race he looked like an also ran. He looked like he was not going to be in contention.
No, and I think he lost 5 or 6 spots just on the opening few laps. I think he was down to eighth place and fighting with the 2 Penskes, but he was able to keep his nose clean, and he just continues to be just so consistent. It's I sound like a broken record saying the consistent part, but it's just crazy what he's able to do on the track. It's almost like a video game. He just never makes mistakes.
And he
Never.
seems to avoid other people's mistakes. It's like it's uncanny the way he. Yes.
Very Rick Mears like. But obviously much better on road courses than Rick Mears ever was. But he's got that mentality that very Scott Dixon like. In fact, let me just hold off here and not push too hard. The opposite of what the Andretti's were, which is why everybody loved them. But it turns out that being patient and being smart is a pretty good strategy.
Yes,
absolutely, and I'll be interested to see how he responds back at Mid Ohio. Obviously, having that battle with Pato O'Ward last year, it should be really interesting. And Mid Ohio, just like Road America, just a classic IndyCar circuit, and it's going to be a great race. It just always delivers.
Thanks so much, guys. Go Pacers.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, and go Pacers.
Absolutely, go Pacers. Go Pacers.
Anything that you wanted to say, Susie? Go Pacers indeed. So excited. 50 years of cheering could all come to this one night. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie. Go, you freaking Pacers, go.